Hello folks, I'm L.A. Little and this is your daily TA wrap, where we take a look at these markets and we do it from a neoclassical perspective, each time asking ourselves what happened today, what does it tell us about the coming days. I do the show 4 times a week, Monday through Thursday, live at 9 o'clock Eastern Time here from the base of the snowy Rocky Mountains. Foot of snow out there today, quite a day here. Usually doesn't come this late, but we get spring storms. We'll be back to normal in a day or two, but in the meantime, cold and snowy in the Rocky Mountains as far as these markets. And you can see it, I just left the screen up for you here. You can see the big push. You know, there's no denying that this market has like a one-way mind, right? And that one-way mind is centered on the idea of breaking out, right? And so we're up there at those highs, trying to break them out again, and looks like we're going to actually get that breakout tomorrow. That top 1897, I'm looking at the S&Ps, that top's 1897.28. We got the 1897.13, missed it by 15 cents. We're not doing any volume, you know, 30 versus 35, but it's gonna, you know, it's gonna pop it, or it's at least gonna try to pop it. And I would think it would do it first thing in the morning, because the Dow is actually already over. So if we pop over, look at the Dow breaks out. It is a suspect breakout, and what I mean by suspect is it doesn't have the volume, 715 versus 1, so you're coming in with about 3/4 as much volume. You get over the highs, that will turn this back the other way, and it will shoot it back around, and we'll see the trend change. Nothing in the way of volume, but you know, all that means, as has been detailed, is the probabilities of it continuing are just slightly lower. And so if you look at that ABCD structure, we may just see this thing leg away. I think that's going to be a tough case, and probably tomorrow is going to answer that case. We're going to find out whether this is going to happen or not, probably tomorrow, as a result of a number of tests that are going to take place, one of which we just talked about, which is the S&Ps, but more importantly, the ones that are starting to take place elsewhere in the weaker indexes where the money is trying to flow back in. So here's the NDX. As you know, we got over it once before. That's the breakdown bar. Top of that bar was roughly 3,600. We're trading just over at 3,612. We'd gotten over it 2 or 3 times before. We actually closed over it once. Now we're closing over it again. Again, volumes not really there. They're lighter, but it's just about to close over it. And if it does so, it's going to get a breakout over the swing point. That's 36.1320, and we're at 36.1273. That would change this back to bullish from sideways. So big test here coming, and then we go look at the one that's been the worst offender, the Russell. Big wide price spread bar, no volume, 300 coming over the retest regen zone of 403. So just like the others, coming up, has, you know, 3/4 as much volume on the way back. That's the break though. It's over the top. Now we've seen this before on retest regenerates where they get over it. This one didn't. It came right to it. But if we keep going back, we can see, like for example, this one got back to the top of it. And there's another one in here somewhere. I can't. Oh, it fell off already. There was a couple that actually got over it. So you can see they come right back up, do the full retest. Either get slightly over it or right at it, and then they failed. And this one is right there. So tomorrow, to me, this is the big test. Does this extend? What you want to see if you're bullish is you want to see these things extend. You want to see another bar that looks like that. If you get that, then that's telling us that something really probably is happening and that there really are buyers at higher price. That's what you always want to know. Will they pay up to get in? And if they will, then that's different than what we've been seeing where they won't. And that is every time you come back up there, nobody wants to pay the price, and the index itself falls right back down. So over the highs in the Dow, looks like we're going to break out in the S&Ps tomorrow. At least we're going to test that top finally. We're only 15 cents away. I can't imagine that we won't test it. And I'd be very I'd be surprised if we don't gap over it in the morning. Is the way it's set up. And whether to hold it or not is another thing. If it's not a big gap, then maybe we come right back down. We got big gaps up today and just ran. So it was a big spike up first 15, 20, 30 minutes, and then it never can turn back. And it was that way across the board. If we look at the sectors, on the sectors we actually have breakouts as well. So if we pop through these and take a look at them, so I'll start with the breakouts. Here's the IYT. It breaks out. It's suspect. There's no volume. But again, suspect just says that your probabilities of coming back and doing that retest regen within 6 bars are quite a bit, well, higher. I shouldn't say quite a bit. They're a higher percentage that you'll come back quickly. XLB also breaks out, also suspect. That was 2. I think there was one other one. Oh, XLI. And this one actually had the volume. So XLI mirroring the Dow, and this one actually had the volume. It is going to be a suspect breakout, but it's decent volume on the way up. So this one actually looks like it continues. So now, anytime you get these breakouts, you know that there's some sort of ABCD structure in place as a result. And so you can see the ABCD structure here, and all the other ones it would be the same. The key here is, do you get another bar that just pulls away? If so, these are going to try to finish out ABCD structures. If not, then you're at risk of rolling back over. And the real risk here now is the rollover, especially if you see a failure back over here on the S&P 500. Folks, we've been in this range forever, right? It's three months, 2.5 months of this range. This range has been about there, right? The top's up there, the bottom's down here. So we're right at the top again. We may get just over that top and then come straight back down again, but the more likely probablehood is if we get over, come back down immediately, then you could see it right back down here and then potentially coming all the way back again. So tomorrow, to me, is a critical day because you have so many tests in so many places. Test in the sense that you got suspect breakouts. They should try to do retest regens within 6 bars. They can try to do it immediately. You get a failure here, they all will try to do it immediately. Then you have the breakdown bars. Remember, we've been looking at breakdown bars across the board here for a while. So if I pull up the 4 that's been trying to get over it, here's the XLY. It's coming right up to it. And I'm talking about the April 10th bar. That's been the breakdown bar that everybody's been trying to get over. It's coming right up to it again. You're going to try it one more time. Again, doesn't have the volume, but these others didn't have the volume either, and they're trying to get over them as well, and some of them actually are. Here's the XLV is where I was trying to go. Let's go back there. Here's the XLV slightly over that breakdown bar now, right? You got 2 swing point highs sitting up there. If this thing can start laying away, it has its ABCD structure. It's over the breakdown bar. It can actually get something going. And so you can see how all of this is lined up to where tomorrow becomes a huge day. XLK is really where the strength was today. It's easily over the breakdown bar finally, right? XLK, breakdown bar here, you got over it once, couldn't stay over it, came back, and now you get a big spike over it. It's going to get over this bar. It's going to be a confirmed Sideways trend now. Now it's at the next breakdown bar, 36.87. It should try to test it tomorrow again. Just like the others, it's a different story, but it's a different, because it's a different bar, but it also has an immediate test. All of them have immediate tests. The other one was the XLF. That was the fourth of the four. That one also slightly over the breakdown bar, also no volume. Do they leg away? Do they come back? That's going to be the key here. And it's going to happen tomorrow. We're going to see it tomorrow, one way or the other. Today, if I have to sum this up, I can't be negative. I can't say, oh, well, it's going to fail. It could fail still. But at this point, there's enough happening to where one has to open their mind and say, hey, it sure looked like it was going to try to break the other way, but here we are going back topside, and now it's sure looking like it wants to break topside. And you can't make this stuff up. It's been that kind of a year. Anytime you get these long elongated ranges that we've seen, it always makes it more difficult to try to read the tea leaves, so to speak, because you get a lot of false breakouts. What's made this one so much more difficult is the fact that you have so much of the market doing this, and I'm talking about just not the indexes, but sectors and stocks. At the same time, so much of the market's doing this, or at least some sort of a lower angle, right? So you have this lower angle push that's taking place. At the same time, you have this larger angle push to the downside. Divergence, huge divergence. Really not much in the way of buyers every time we go up. That's not that abnormal, but in terms of the way we break out every time being suspect, that gets a little bit old, makes it harder to believe. And we just had a huge year and we're running up again. It's just hard to bite into it, but at the same time, I got to keep my mind open. If this thing starts to leg away, it's telling us something, and I can't ignore it, and I've got to go with it. I don't have any choice but to follow what the market wants to do. I follow it in a sense that I'll leg into stuff. I don't like just flip a light switch, sell everything I have, and buy everything else. But if the market wants to go higher, even if it doesn't look like it wants to go that much higher, you can't fight it. You have to at least get on the side of what's working. Talk about what's working. Remember, we've had bonds trying to work up for a long time. Well, they're coming back in. Just like the market going up on no volume, the bonds are coming in on no volume. They're coming back into this zone. This is the next spot. They got into this bar today, the April 11th bar. The April 10th bar right underneath it, which is the breakdown bar on the indexes. On the so many of the sectors. That top is 10.22, or 11.10, so another 50 cents or so. I suspect this thing's going to find support there and try to flip around and go back up. Bonds most likely are entering some sort of a range trade. They left volume at the top here, and I suspect they'll, once they decide where the range is, then they'll trade that range for a little while. I don't think bonds are breaking down in any larger way. So right there is probably where that range is going to be for now, and then it may broaden out to here as we go forward. Dollar. The dollar, huge reversal, and if you look at it, think of the market right now, and think of the market like the dollar, and ask yourself, is it possible that and this is why I say you can't just sell everything, buy everything kind of thing, flip a light switch. These break down, and to try to buy that would have been like almost suicidal. Yet look what happened. You're right back up over this area. This is the dollar. Of course, Draghi comes out, big news, flips it around. But you break down your lows, and within 5 bars, within 1 week, not only have you gotten back inside those lows, you've annihilated the retest regens. So you've basically said, and you did it on a gap, matter of fact, you've basically said this was a totally false breakout. The dollar doesn't want to go lower. Now, what if I flip this upside down and go back and ask myself, could we see that sort of action here? Could we break out tomorrow, maybe 1-2 days, and then flip around and come straight back down, leave a gap up there? I mean, it's possible. I don't know that answer, and that's why I say you can't flip 100% one way or the other. It's just too early to know. But certainly, at this point, you've got to respect the possibility that this thing may just leg higher for a while. These are ABCD structures. I mean, we can do the numbers real quick. That's 1814 up to, that's about 70 points. Put 70 on top of this, gets you to what, 1920? And we're at 1900. So you could get another 24 points to the upside to finish off the ABCD structure. And 24 points is nothing to sneeze at. That's certainly not something you want to be leaning against if it starts to play out that way. Gold and silver, really, it looked like they were going to try to do something today, but they kind of died. Gold didn't do anything. Silver didn't do anything. And that's in spite of, as we looked earlier, XLB trying to break out based on the China. So speaking of China, let's pop over real quick and take a quick look at overseas, because overseas is what drove this. And that overseas action started in China last night. I'll bring up the 8 shares. The 8 shares didn't show that big of a move, but a big wide price spread move. Volume wasn't bad. It was coming into a point, we talked about it last night, that this was kind of a do or die thing. I mean, it needed to find support here and bounce, and that's exactly what it did. Supposedly based on the news that the government is going to do some reforms and make it easier to get money into the equity markets, the IPO markets, and so forth. I don't know if that matters what the quote-unquote news was. It bounced, and it bounced when it needed to, and it bounced with some pretty good volume. So if these start to follow through tonight, that will give us a decent indication of what we're going to see. And if one of you out there have a chance, you can flip over and see what these markets are doing. Actually, they're not open yet. I think they open at 8 my time. Here's the Hang Seng, same thing. Big wide price spread, big flip around. And you want to see something large. And I know that Tommy has been asking me about it, and I did do the research on it, so I will talk about that real quick. And that's the Sensex. This is the Indian market. Volumes, there's really nothing, bad about the volumes. They get over swing point high. But look at that move, 22.3 up to 23.5. That's 1,200 points. That's 6% in 2 days. That's based all on election and the expectation of the election. And the one Tommy's been asking me about is INDY. I assume it did the same thing. I didn't look at it. Yeah, big gap up, huge volume comes into it. Okay, so the question is what is the difference between these guys? And the difference is this. The Indy tracks the 50 largest Indian equities, which happens to be a superset of the Sensex. Because I didn't look through all 30 of them, but I looked through enough of them to just assume that's what it is. These are the large. It's almost like the Dow Jones Industrial Average, the 30 large weighted stocks in the Sensex. This one has the 50 largest weight, so it's a superset of the Sensex. That's why the correlations are close, but not exact. So that's the answer to that question as to what is in this ETF. And nice move. And I hope you bought this thing on a breakout, Tommy, because you got a heck of a move off of it today. Let me see what else. Europe. Can't forget Europe. So Asia really, and actually let me go back and finish with Asia. So let me pop here real quick, and then we'll come back to the CACs. If I go to the Taiwan market, that one had already failed. We thought it would come off. It comes off, and it comes off pretty hard. No surprise there. The other one, Nikkei. Nikkei hasn't been able to get going. And I know they are open. If anybody can get a quote there, we'll look at it. That market still looks to me like it's going to try to trade lower, although I wouldn't be surprised to see some sort of a test of this bar's high tonight, 14,299 on the Nikkei. That's Asia. Asia really being driven by China right now. Hong Kong piggybacking them. Then if we go back over to Europe. Europe's still pushing higher with the issues in the Ukraine based on the Draghi promise. Now I did see a little bit of backtracking, nothing big yet, off of one of the ECB ministers, but CAC's no volume as it's coming back to test the tops. Okay volume, but no real big volume. Then we go to the DAX. DAX is the one that had the volume. DAX is pushing the highs, pushing back up there with decent volume, going to test those highs, try to get over them. And then if you look at the FTSE itself, also pushing back towards the highs, right? These highs, trying to get over them. You can see the volumes over there, 10 versus 6 versus 5. Volume tailing off is going up. I don't think Europe's going anywhere. Everybody's getting all excited about Europe. Europe looks to me like it's probably stuck for a little bit longer. And maybe it pulls back a little bit in front of Draghi. Remember, these had already done their ABCD structures, right? And then they try to go sideways, and now they're getting another push off of all this news, and that is finding it hard to push up right now. So we'll see how it plays out, but I think these guys are stuck at least for a little bit longer, given the Ukraine situation and given that June is still 3 weeks away. So that's that. At the same time, I don't expect them to sell off that much because of June and the promise of more, well, they didn't say QE, but easing. Maybe they just bring the rates down. And that's the world markets, and that's also supporting our markets. So tomorrow, big test all across the board. And let's see here what we got. So Indy, here we go. So Nikkei 1.8%, Korea 0.76. Yeah, so that makes sense. Let's go back to that Nikkei chart. How many points is that? Do you have it? 1.8, would it be? It's 140. It's almost 200. That would take it up to, it's testing. It's going to test it tonight. That's what it's doing, which happens to be the bottom of this bar too. So if the Nikkei can close over it again, right, it can try to push again up to the top of this bar, which is the next zone. So what I'm talking about is right now it looks like it's trading about up here. So it's testing the top of this, the bottom of that bar. The other test, if it gets over it, will be to take it back up there. I don't think the Nikkei is going anywhere though. Looks to me like it's stuck as well. So why is all this happening? Well, maybe it's the economics. In my opinion, it's the promise of more QE in different forms. China promising to stimulate, right? They got numbers out tonight in China. If those numbers are horrible, the market's probably going to go up because it's all about stimulus now. And in Europe, that's what's pressing them. Okay, so if we're going to get more QE around the world, what's that going to do? It's going to keep all these economies floating, and it's going to keep all these markets at highs and potentially higher highs. And that, if you're trying to bet against this market, that's the risk. All right, let me see here. Let me see if I get any questions. You can email me at support@TA Today if you have questions. It looks like I have one here. Let me try to gather this in real quick. Actually, it's asking several, so let me try to pop through these real quick. So ABG, Ashbury Automotive, and let's see here. What do we got? Yeah, this is a nice chart. It's got an ABCD structure up. So it had one here, finished it, more than finished it off, right? So now you got another one going from here up, and that goes to there. So you got a big ABCD structure up now. And let's look at it on the weekly right quick. And so the question is it's trying to push higher. I'm looking at both on daily, and both look like they're pushing past swing points on the daily with room to move before they complete their ABCDs. Your expert advice. Well, boy, is he stroking my ego. Yeah, and you got an ABCD here too. Yeah, so this is actually good. I mean, you got a bunch of good stuff here. You had a breakout, retest regen off of it, lower volume, right? Then the bar it's messing with, which was that one, slightly lower volume, and certainly lower volume than the breakout bar. So that's a successful retest regen right here. And so now you're pushing, right? And what does that do? That puts the ABCD structure into place, and you can see it here, right? And you'd have to do your own calculations, but it's from there to the B point here to the bottom there, and now looks like about right there, not that much farther, but decent amount still. And so, you know, another 5-6 points probably if you do the math. So you've got an ABCD structure on the weekly, you have it on the daily as well, and that daily looks like it measures about the same as the weekly almost. And volumes are good and you're over the B point. So that one looks perfect. I don't see anything wrong with it. ABG, the other one was AP. Let's see what this is. Yeah, Amco Pittsburgh. So this is also breaking over the highs. This one doesn't look nearly as good, but it's okay. But it does have, so first of all, here on the daily, you got the ABCD structure here. Yeah, you get it from here. It's going to end up down to there and then back up, right? So you have an ABCD structure and you're over your B and you've got volume. Those are all good. So daily looks like it can make the push to this structure. Let's look on the weekly, see what it looks like. And yeah, the reason I said it doesn't look as good is because I don't like to trade anything that has these kind of bars, right? Look at all these huge down wide price spread loss bars. Yeah, it's over them, and yeah, I can keep pushing. I'm assuming that there's a high short interest or something in this. Let's take a quick look at this guy. Trading Cube, and that's AP. Let's see what we got here. Yeah, it doesn't. 2.1. Diversified machinery. Yeah, I don't know. I don't see anything wrong with it there. I don't know why these huge price spread bars against it, but it is over it. It's got an ABCD structure. This one is almost done though on the weekly, right? You'd have to do this measurement, but this looks almost done. So I'd be careful about. I'd be more careful about this one compared to AMP. I mean ABG. ABG looks better to me. Okay, I'm out of time. I'm going to leave it at that. Tomorrow, critical day. I can't say it enough. We'll see what happens with it. You know, it's a toss-up to me. And if they fail here, you could get a big pushback the other way. If they succeed, you can get another 20, 25 points on the S&P. Folks, I appreciate you being there. You take care. I'll see you next time. Until then, I'm LA. This is, and it was, your daily TA wrap. Have yourself a great night. Take care, and I'll see you next time. Good night, folks.